What if love didn't just break the rules, but made them completely useless? Around the world, there are couples whose relationships don't just feel unusual, they feel almost impossible. These are real people, living lives that most can't even wrap their heads around. From a husband who carried and gave birth to his own child, to a woman deeply in love with something that isn't even alive, these are the couples you won't believe actually exist. Number 10. Lauren and Sabia showers Reika, the man who survived with half a body. Lauren Showers was still a teenager when one day at work changed his body forever. He was working in Montana in 2019 when he was asked to move a water barrier with a forklift. The job went wrong in the worst possible way. The forklift went over the edge of a bridge and dropped about 50 feet. Lauren was crushed under it, trapped and injured so badly that even getting him out alive was a fight. By the time doctors saw the damage, they were facing the kind of choice no one ever wants to hear. Lauren's lower body could not be saved. Blood flow had been cut off, his injuries were massive, and if they waited, he would die. So doctors performed a rare, extreme operation that removed everything below his waist. He also lost part of one arm. Most people hear that and stop at the shock of it. But Lauren's story becomes even harder to forget when Sabia enters it. Sabia Reika was already in Lauren's life before the accident. She was not someone who met him after the headlines or after people started watching his story online. She knew him before the fall, before the hospital bed, before the wheelchair, before the world began seeing him as the man who survived with half a body. After the accident, their relationship changed overnight. Love was no longer just dates, laughs, plans, and normal young couple dreams. It became hospital rooms, pain, fear, recovery, and daily care. Sabia had to watch the person she loved survive something most people cannot even think about. Lauren had to wake up in a body that no longer looked or worked the way it once did. And somehow they stayed together. They married in 2021, building a life around a reality that would break many couples apart. Sabia helps Lauren with things most people do without thinking: moving, getting dressed, adjusting in his wheelchair, handling care routines, facing the public, dealing with the stares, dealing with the cruel questions, dealing with the people who see a body before they see a person. Number 9. Joseph and Vanya Williams, the man born without a jaw. Joseph Williams spent most of his life being stared at before anyone even knew his name. He was born in Chicago with a rare condition called otofacial syndrome. In simple terms, Joseph came into the world without a jaw or chin. His face looked so different that strangers often treated him like a shock before they treated him like a person. When Joseph was only 2 days old, doctors tried to build a jaw for him using bone and skin grafts. But as he grew, his body rejected the work. The surgery could not give him the face or the life people expected him to have. Because of his condition, Joseph cannot eat like most people. He uses a tube in his stomach and his food has to be blended. He also cannot speak normally, so he often uses sign language or a phone that turns typed words into speech. Simple things most people never think about became part of his daily survival. Growing up was brutal. People mocked him. People stared. Some treated him like he was scary. Others acted like he was not fully human. For years, Joseph believed love might never happen for him. Dating felt almost impossible because before anyone could know his heart, they had to get past his face. Then he met Vanya at work. Vanya worked in a warehouse, and the first time she saw Joseph, she was shocked. She thought he must have been in a terrible accident. She tried not to stare, but the sight stayed with her. At first, she was nervous around him because she did not want to say the wrong thing. Then one day, Vanya was having trouble with a machine at her station. Joseph came over and asked if she needed help. He could not fix the machine, but he helped her move her things to another station. That small moment changed everything. Vanya saw his kindness. After that, they started talking more often. Joseph made her laugh. He brought her drinks at work. He opened up about his life and explained that he had been born this way. Little by little, the shock faded. and the real person came through. Their friendship grew into love, and in 2020, Joseph and Vanya got married. Even after marriage, the outside world did not suddenly become kind. People still stared. Some took photos, some judged them without knowing anything about them. But Joseph and Vanya kept choosing each other. Number 8. Abby Hensel and Josh Bowling. The Conjoined Bride. Abby Hensel's wedding became a global story because she walked into married life with her twin sister Brittany standing there in the same body. Abby and Brittany Hensel are among the most famous conjoined twins in the world. They have 2 heads, 2 hearts, 2 minds, and 1 shared body. Abby is on the right side. Brittany is on the left. That means Abby controls the right arm and right leg, while Brittany controls the left arm and left leg. Every step, every turn, every small movement has to work like a silent agreement between them. That is what makes Abby's marriage to Josh Bowling so hard for many people to process at first. Abby married Josh in November 2021, but the wedding stayed mostly private until it became public years later. Josh is a nurse and a United States Army veteran, and when footage of the wedding dance surfaced online, millions of people suddenly saw a love story that did not fit the usual shape of marriage. In the clip, Josh dances with Abby while Brittany is right there too, because she has to be. It is sweet, but it is also the kind of image that makes people pause. Not because it is fake or staged, but because it raises questions most people have never had to think about. What does marriage mean when one sister is the bride and the other sister shares the same body? How do privacy, daily life, and personal space work when 2 people have lived together more closely than anyone else on Earth? Abby and Brittany have been in the public eye since childhood. They became widely known after appearing on Oprah in 1996, then later appeared in documentaries and their own TLC series. Viewers watched them grow up, finish college, travel, drive, and begin their careers as teachers. What always stood out was how normal they tried to keep their lives, even when the world kept staring. Today, Abby and Brittany are 5th grade teachers in Minnesota. Number 7. Paulo Gabriel da Silva Barros and Katushia Hoshino, the shortest married couple on Earth. Paulo Gabriel da Silva Barros and Katushia Hoshino became famous because together they are not even 6 feet tall. Paulo stands just 35.54 inches tall. Katushia is only 35.88 inches tall. Their combined height is 71.42 inches, that is just under 6 feet. But their story did not begin with a record. It began online in 2006 on Orkut, a social media site that was popular in Brazil at the time. Paulo saw Katushia's profile and liked her immediately. He thought she was beautiful from the first moment. Katushia did not feel the same way at first. In fact, she blocked him. Paulo did not start as the perfect romantic hero. He was just a young man trying to get the attention of a woman who was not interested yet. Over time, that changed. They began talking again, and their online chats slowly turned into a friendship. They finally met face-to-face on December 20th, 2008. 9 days later, they began dating. Even then, the relationship was not simple. They lived far apart, so they spent about 4 years in a long-distance relationship. They could only see each other every few months. A lot of relationships fall apart under that kind of pressure, but theirs kept growing. In January 2012, Katushia made the choice that changed everything. She moved from Londrina to Paulo's hometown of Itapeva, in Sao Paulo. 4 years later, on September 17, 2016, they got married. Less than 2 months after that, their record was officially confirmed in Itapeva. Suddenly, the world knew them as the shortest married couple on Earth. Paulo and Katushia are easy to notice in public, and that attention has not always been kind. People stare. Some make comments. Some treat their size like a joke before seeing them as adults with jobs, goals, and a real marriage. Paulo works as a civil servant. Katushia owns a beauty salon. Their lives are not built around being a record. They work, travel, laugh, argue, and face daily problems like any other couple. Number 6. Kyle Jones and Marjorie Mcool, the 60-year age gap. Kyle Jones and Marjorie Mcool looked like a photo that could not be real. He was 31, she was 91. That made the age gap between them 60 years. To most people, Marjorie looked old enough to be his grandmother, or even his great-grandmother. But Kyle insisted he was not confused, not joking, and not chasing attention. He said older women were simply who he had always been drawn to. Kyle's attraction was not just about Marjorie. He openly said he had never been interested in women his own age. His usual preference was women in their 60s, 70s, and 80s. He liked gray hair, though he preferred calling it platinum. He liked wrinkles, necklines, and the natural signs of age that many people try to hide. That alone made people uncomfortable. But Marjorie's age took the story to another level. Marjorie was a 91-year-old great-grandmother who had been single for decades after separating from the father of her children. She met Kyle in 2009 at a bookstore where she was working. At first, she was unsure. A much younger man asking for her number did not exactly feel normal, but Kyle kept showing interest, and Marjorie eventually agreed to see him. Their relationship quickly became one of the strangest age gap stories online. People stared at their photos, argued in comment sections, and tried to explain it away. Some said Kyle had to be after money. Others said he only wanted fame. Some could not accept that a man in his early 30s would choose a woman old enough to have grandchildren older than him. Kyle denied all of that. He said money had nothing to do with it. He had dated older women from different backgrounds, and to him, the attraction was real. He also said every person's mind works differently. Some men prefer blondes, some prefer brunettes. He preferred much older women. Marjorie did not act ashamed either. She defended the relationship and said she enjoyed being with him. She knew people would judge them. She knew many strangers would see Kyle as a grandson instead of a partner. But she still said what she did with her life was her own business. Even Kyle's mother had to adjust to it. At first, she wondered if it was just a phase. But after seeing the kind of women her son kept choosing, she realized it was not going away. Number 5. Akihiko Condo and Hatsune Miku, the man who married a hologram. Akihiko Condo walked into a wedding hall in Tokyo and married someone who was not there in the way most people understand. His bride was Hatsune Miku, a blue-haired virtual singer known around the world by anime and music fans. She has sold out concerts as a projected character, appeared in games, and built a fan base so huge that many people treat her almost like a real pop star. But she is not human. She is a digital character, built from voice software and brought to life through screens, songs, and projection. In November 2018, Condo held a wedding ceremony for himself and Miku. The ceremony had no legal standing, but it was still arranged like a real wedding. 39 guests attended. His parents did not. The ring was placed on a small doll made to look like Miku, while Condo stood there as a groom, fully serious about the life he believed he was choosing. The shock was not only that he married a virtual character, it was how deeply real the relationship felt to him. Condo had gone through years of loneliness and pain before the wedding. He had struggled at work and said he was bullied so badly that he had to take time away from his job. At one point, he felt he could not trust a normal relationship anymore. Then he found comfort in Hatsune Miku. Her songs helped him through a dark period, and over time, that comfort became devotion. At home, he used a gatebox device that displayed Miku as a small hologram-like companion inside a glass tube. The device could greet him, respond to simple phrases, and send short messages. To most people, that still sounds like a machine. To Condo, it felt like someone waiting for him when he came home. He even received an unofficial marriage certificate through the company behind the device. Thousands of people reportedly signed similar forms for fictional characters. But Condo became the face of the story because he turned his bond into a public ceremony. Then came the part that made the story even stranger. Years later, the service that let the gatebox version of Miku speak with him was shut down. The voice that used to answer him went silent. Condo could no longer interact with her the same way, but he did not treat that as the end of the marriage. He said his love had not changed. He still kept Miku in his life through dolls, images, and memory. Number 4. Thomas Beatie and Nancy, the husband who gave birth. Thomas Beatie became famous from one photo that made the whole world stop. He was standing sideways, shirt lifted, with a full pregnant belly. But Thomas was not being shown as a mother. He was legally a man, married to his wife Nancy and carrying their child himself. That was what made the story explode in 2008. People had seen unusual couples before, but this was different. A husband was pregnant. A husband was preparing to give birth. And for millions of people, that one image flipped everything they thought they knew about marriage, pregnancy, and family. Thomas had been assigned female at birth, but he had lived as a man for years. In 2002, he had surgery on his chest and was legally recognized as male. He did not remove the parts of his body that could carry a child because he still hoped to have children one day. When Thomas and Nancy wanted to start a family, they ran into a painful problem. Nancy could not carry a pregnancy. So Thomas made the choice that turned their private life into a worldwide headline. He stopped taking testosterone, used donor sperm, and became pregnant. The reaction was instant and intense. Some people were fascinated. Some were angry. Some treated him like a joke. Others stared at the story because they could not understand how a man could be a husband, a father, and the person carrying the baby at the same time. But Thomas and Nancy were not treating it like a stunt. They were trying to have a family. On June 29, 2008, Thomas gave birth to their daughter in Bend, Oregon. The baby was healthy, and Thomas became known around the world as the first married man to give birth. And it did not stop there. Thomas later carried 2 more children, giving him and Nancy 3 children together. Number 3. Brittany and Brianna Dean with Josh and Jeremy Salyers, twins married twins. Brittany and Brianna Dean did not just marry brothers. They married identical twin brothers in a double love story so strange it almost feels made up. Brittany and Brianna are identical twin sisters. Josh and Jeremy Salyers are identical twin brothers. The 4 of them first met in 2017 at the Twins Days Festival in Twinsburg, Ohio, a huge gathering built around people who already know what it feels like to have a living mirror beside them. The match happened fast. Brianna felt pulled toward Jeremy, while Brittany felt pulled toward Josh. It was not one messy mix-up or one shared crush. The pairs split naturally, like the story had already been arranged before any of them arrived. 6 months later, Josh and Jeremy proposed together with matching rings. Brittany and Brianna said yes at the same time. Then, in August 2018, all 4 returned to the same festival and got married in one joint ceremony. 2 brides, 2 grooms, matching faces on both sides. A wedding that looked less like real life and more like a scene someone would write just to see if viewers believed it. But the strangest part came after the wedding. The couples now live together in Virginia, where they run Smith Mountain Manor, a wedding venue that is also their shared home. Their lives are tied together in a way most families would find impossible to manage. They work together, raise children close together, and move through daily life as one very unusual family unit. Then came the twist that made their story even harder to process. Brittany and Josh had a son named Jet. Brianna and Jeremy had a son named Jax. Legally, the boys are cousins. But because both mothers are identical twins and both fathers are identical twins, the boys share DNA in a way that makes them much closer than normal cousins. In simple terms, they are cousins on paper, but genetically close to brothers. Still, the couples are clear about one thing. This is not a shared marriage. Brittany is married to Josh. Brianna is married to Jeremy. Each couple has its own relationship, even though all 4 share a home, a business, and a deeply connected family life. Number 2. Gabriela and Victor Hugo Peralta, the most modified married couple. Gabriela and Victor Hugo Peralta do not look like any married couple most people have ever seen. Their faces, eyes, teeth, ears, tongues, and skin have all been changed in ways that make strangers stop and stare. Together, they hold the world record for the most body changes by a married couple, with 91 body modifications between them. Victor has 41. Gabriela has 50. But their story did not start as a record chase. It started with two people who saw the world in the same strange way. Gabriela is from Argentina, Victor is from Uruguay. They met in Buenos Aires at a motorcycle event, and the connection was instant. Both loved tattoos. Both loved body art. Both saw the body as something that could be shaped, marked, changed, and turned into a kind of living artwork. For most couples, a shared passion might be music, travel, food, or sports. For Gabriela and Victor, it became something far more permanent. Their bodies are covered with tattoos. They also have piercings, implants, stretched ears, dental changes, eye tattoos, and a split tongue. Victor's early forehead implants helped pull Gabriela deeper into the same world. She liked the look so much that she joined him on the journey. And over time, their marriage became tied to the same extreme form of self-expression. The first reaction most people have is shock. It is hard not to look twice. Their appearance is intense, dark, and almost unreal. But Gabriela and Victor do not see themselves as monsters or walking warnings. They see themselves as artists. They chose this. They planned it. They kept going because to them, every mark and every change meant freedom. That does not mean it was easy. Some of the work was painful in ways most people would never accept. Gabriela has said her scarifications were among the hardest to endure. Victor went through tongue pigmentation that made it hard for him to breathe for hours. Still, they continued, not because anyone forced them, but because this strange path made sense to them. They have held their record since 2012, when their total was already 77. Years later, they returned with even more changes, raising the number to 91. They even marked one major public appearance by getting matching chest tattoos of the Italian flag. Number 1. Linda Ducharm and Bruce, the woman and the carnival ride. Linda Ducharm's love story sounds like something people would make up just to shock the internet. Her partner was not a man. He was not even alive. Linda said the love of her life was Bruce, a giant carnival ride made of steel, lights, seats, cables, and moving parts. Bruce was a skydiver ride, the kind that lifts people high into the air and spins them in cages. To most people, it was just a machine built for fairs and amusement parks. To Linda, it was her husband. She first met Bruce in 1981 when she was working around carnival rides. The moment stayed with her for decades. She later said she felt something powerful when she got near him, like a pull she could not explain. While most people would remember a ride because it was fun or scary, Linda remembered Bruce as something deeply personal. Over the years, Bruce was damaged and taken out of service. For Linda, that was not just the loss of an old ride. She described it like being separated from someone she loved. Later, Bruce was found again, worn down and needing work, and Linda wanted him restored. She did not speak about him like scrap metal. She spoke about him like a partner who had come back into her life. Her story became widely known after she renewed her vows with Bruce on television. The ceremony looked strange from the first second. Linda stood beside the massive ride while a priest led the vows. She repeated words pledging her heart, body, and spirit to Bruce. She treated the moment seriously, even while viewers at home struggled to understand what they were watching. Linda did not describe Bruce as a hobby, a favorite ride, or a childhood memory. She said being with him felt right. She said she thought about him constantly. She even said there was not a huge difference between how she spent time with Bruce and how other married couples spent time together. For most people, that is almost impossible to accept. A ride cannot speak. It cannot choose. It cannot hold a conversation or make promises back. But Linda's feelings were not presented as a joke to her. She saw Bruce as something with meaning, comfort, and presence in her life. Thanks for watching. Now check out the videos popping up on screen for more unbelievable stories.